Hey guys, Matth here, and today I want to bring you guys my first impressions on Last Epoch. I basically want to talk about leveling, you know, the end game. Now, I'm not really super far into the end game at all. I'm like only level 72, and I'm brand new, so like there's a lot of things that I don't know, and I haven't really reached the real end game, which is arena. But there's also going to be some more end game added to very soon with the upcoming patch. But yeah, I want to share basically my experience so far, and I don't really have a script or anything like that, so it's going to be basically just talking about what I've experienced so far and what I think about the game, what I think GGG could learn from this game, and what I think this game can learn from GGG or Path of Exile. Now, also at the end of the video, I want to talk about a giveaway that I'll be doing, a pretty massive giveaway for my birthday stream, which is going to be on the 1st of April. So stay tuned for that. All right, so first off, let's talk about the campaign. The campaign is basically 4 acts currently. It's not done though. There will be some more added to the game. You're going to finish the campaign around level 50, and if I had to take a guess, it probably takes about 7 or 8 hours, 6 to 7 or 8 hours, depends on how fast you are, to do it basically pretty much blind, if you will, if you're just kind of rushing, not killing everything in the map, just kind of rushing from one map to the next, or one zone to the next, I should say. It took me 7 hours and a half, but my build was absolutely atrocious, but I was rushing, which means like I wasn't clearing all the maps and picking up all the stuff, or I didn't do any crafting also while I was leveling, and the game really wants you to craft while you level because it's so simple. I'll talk about crafting in a bit. Then eventually you get to the end of time, which is basically the equivalent of mapping in Path of Exile. So you'll start off at level 55. Those will be your first maps. Then level 60, level 70. Basically the map level is the equivalent of saying, for example, in Path of Exile, like T1 maps, T5 maps, T10 maps, you know, and so on. And you can go all the way up to, I believe, like or level 100s or level 90s or something. So there's quite a bit to go. And then after that, there's also arena, and arena is basically, I guess you could say the ladder, the way to show your skill in the game. I'll be talking about a YouTuber who does content based on arena. He's actually the best arena in the game a little bit later on in the video. So yeah, I've got a few content creators that I want to give a shout out to this video, one which actually provided some giveaway stuff as well, which is awesome. Okay, so campaign is very straightforward. It's pretty much like a Diablo looking campaign, right? With an arrow on your map, it tells you where to go. You've got your mini map or your central map. It's up to you where you want to put it, and it just shows you where to go. So it's very easy to just pick it up and just go with it. Now, if we're talking about the difficulty, it's actually pretty easy. There was no point where I felt like I was in massive danger. Now, I did die during my campaign, actually, during the leveling, because like I said, my build was absolutely atrocious. As a first-time player, I would probably recommend following a guide, but realistically, you don't have to because it's somewhat fairly simple. So you're going to have basically 2 different skill tree. You're going to have your skill tree for your passives. Now, you have multiple classes. Now I'm playing a rogue. I think there's 5 different classes, and each of these classes have different ascendancies, if you will, and there's going to be more upcoming as well. So the game is still somewhat fresh, somewhat new, so there is a lot more to come. So I went with a rogue, and then I went blade dancer. It's the newest class, and also I think potentially the best one, or at least I had a lot of fun playing it. I'm having a lot of fun playing it even now. So rogue, and then you have your subclass, or I guess your main class, which is going to be blade dancer, and then you have multiple ways that you can build your class based on these skill trees of different skills. So if you go here, you'll see that basically I have these many different skills as a rogue. Some of these though require marksman skills, some of these require you know, blade dancer skills. So this is basically the tree for a rogue. Now of course there's also falconer, but I don't think it's out yet. And then you basically can change how each and every one of those skills work through these different nodes. Especially these notables basically are what change the skill and can make your skill go from one thing to a completely different thing. For example, the build that I'm playing kind of uses it's a dancing build, I guess you could call it. So it's like it jumps around and it creates these shadows, and these shadows, whenever I use this ability here, it's kind of like a Z, if you've ever played League of Legends, where it creates the shadow and then it uses the shadow. It consumes it by using my ability, which gives me basically double the damage. So that's how I'm scaling damage on my build. There's over 100 different builds right now that you can play. And there's about a top like 5 builds, so I guess it's kind of like Path of Exile, right? You're always going to have your top builds, especially for Arena. People are only going to play the best stuff. See it kind of like the equivalent of like delving in PoE. You know, only the best builds are going to be at the top, but technically there's over 100 different builds already, which are very different from one another, because like I said, the way that you actually go about scaling these different skills can be vastly different. Now I would love to show you guys some more, but the thing is, while respecking is technically free, if I despecialize the skill to show you guys some other ones, I would actually lose the XP. So you can technically make one character and play every build from that specific ascendancy, because Blade Dancer, your ascendancy, I guess, if you want to call it that, is always going to stick. You can't change that, but how you're playing as a Blade Dancer, you can change as many times as you want, but you're going to have to re-level the skills every single time, but it's free. You can also respec all of these different passes, but it costs gold to do that. But gold seems to be absolutely plentiful, so that's not too big of a problem. So in terms of build variety and whatnot, I've seen a lot of videos already, a lot of people talking about a million different builds. Like, there's really a lot of replayability, and with the new endgame systems that they're adding to the game, I have to say it's looking pretty good. Now let's talk about crafting, because I think that's like one of the main aspects of this game, which is so very interesting. You can literally craft on the go. So if I go ahead and open a map right now, so this is like a little bit of a boss map, if you will, actually, which I wasn't aware of. Actually, I'll be able to showcase a little bit of gameplay, some what the animation looks like and all that. So this is actually a boss, so I'm probably just gonna let him kill me, because I don't want to stay here forever, because the bosses are kind of insane in how much HP they have. They have like different mechanics, like different bosses have different mechanics, so I'm just gonna let myself die. But that's kind of how you would go about it. So this build is like, again, it's a Blade Dancer, so I'm dancing, and I'm trying not to get hit by these different mechanics that are coming through me. So a lot of them you can see coming, a lot of them are a little bit more instant. But yeah, so this is the build that I'm playing. It's a very smooth build. It does quite a bit of damage. Now, these bosses, like I said, have an insane amount of HP. So, yeah. So let's just go ahead and let myself die, and then I'll talk about how to craft. Oh, actually, wait. Technically, I can craft right now, I believe. No, actually, I'm in combat, so I can't. But you can literally craft on the fly in the game. Oh, wait, maybe I can craft on the fly. So if I wanted to right now, I can literally open up my forge and craft right now. So I could just go ahead and say, okay, you know what, this helmet right here, okay, well, it's actually fractured, which basically means broken. I'll explain that in a minute. But let's see if I have something that's not broken. Okay, that's broken. Anything I have that's not broken? That's also broken. Well, all my stuff is broken, so I'm just gonna buy something that's not broken in order to showcase it. Okay, so I've died. I guess that's something to talk about. I died. When you die, you don't lose XP, but you do lose your map. Maps are free and they are infinite. As you can see, all I have to do is speak to the map device, or whatever you want to call it, and I can just go in the next one over and over again. It's free. I don't have to roll it. I don't need scarabs or sextants or anything like that, like in PoE, right, to try to min-max it. I just go in, I just get it done, and then I get to the next one. It's kind of similar to Greater Rifts in Diablo, a lot more to mapping in PoE. So yeah, but let's talk about crafting. So I'm just gonna buy a random pair of boots right now, just to showcase what you can do, or a random item in general. It doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and get this sword right here. So I have a sword. Now the sword basically has different stats. In this game, it's 4 affixes per item, so you can have a maximum of 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes. But unlike PoE, where you can craft only 1 stat on an item, I can actually fill up the entire item with crafted stat. Like this blade, for example, which is really, really, really good, is all handcrafted from a white weapon, which is insane. That you can actually do that, and it's deterministic. So I'm going to use my forge. And then what I'll do is I will basically get to choose what I want to put on my item. So, for example, since this is a sword and there's attack speed, the the top stat here, which is also attack speed, is going to appear in like bold yellow. That basically means that it's already on the item. So this is just in order to be able to find easily the stats you already have on it. So there's different charms that you can use. One of them is going to basically prevent stability loss. Instability is what, the more instability you have, basically, the more likely you are that your item will fail when you go up in tiers. Because the item can fracture, right? Like I showed on my ring, for example, it's fractured. Fractured means that I can't do anything else with it. It's like the equivalent of a corrupted item in PoE, except it's not actually broken. It's just you can't do anything else with it. But it doesn't die whenever you corrupt it or when you refracture it. It just basically becomes unchangeable anymore. Kind of like a mirrored item, actually, is better way to put it. So the way that you would do this is that now you can't really see it because of my face, but there's like a chance to succeed the craft. And there's these different glyphs. Now, I think there's only 2 of them. There's Glyph of Stability, which increases, like I said, the odds of not getting instability. And then there's also Glyph of the Guardian, which increases the odds of getting an upgrade. So right now, if I wanted to put, I don't know, let's put something that I don't care about. So like health on melee hit. I have 32 of these and I'm probably never going to use them. I have a 100% chance of success. But if I forge it, the next time I have 90% chance of success, right? And then 82%, right? It goes down as the tier goes up. Unlike PoE, where tier 1 is the best tier, in this game it's the opposite. Tier 7 is the best tier, I believe. And tier 7 can only be dropped, and it's the same for tier 6. The highest you can craft is tier 5. So the best items in the game are always going to be self-farmed, not crafted. And I think that's very interesting because it makes it so as you're actually playing the game, you're actually getting excited because you're dropping items that are potential upgrades instead of being excited that you're dropping currency in order to buy upgrades. And I think that's something that I personally have missed a lot over the years of playing PoE. But now you'll see that I'm at 82, right? So if I do this, there's a chance that I fracture it, which I did. But if I would have used a glyph, I could have basically prevented that from happening. So I'm going to buy another one of these crappy items here. And I'm not sure where it went. Let's go ahead and buy another one. And then we're going to do that again. So this one has chance to blind on hits and stun with flee or whatever. So I don't really care about any of this. But I'll once again just put some random crap on it. Like, let's see. I guess we could just go with like fire damage or something. So 98% chance, but 88% chance. But like, see, now it goes to 78, but I can use a glyph and it goes back up to 100% chance because of the glyph. And you can also get critical success, which is going to double, or not necessarily double upgrade that given tier, but it's going to double upgrade. It's going to upgrade that tier that you just upgraded, but also any other tier on the item, or any other affix on the item will also get upgraded. And I'm not sure the odds of getting a +2 is, but it seems to be kind of rare, but not that rare. So that's kind of how deterministic crafting goes in this game. It's deterministic because you get to choose exactly the mods that you want, and it's pretty damn easy to get a single, let's say, T4 or T5 mod on an item. Where it becomes hard is getting multiple T5s, but realistically, T5s is almost as good as the best in the game, which is T7. It's not quite there, but it's still really, really, really good. So what's important to pay attention to is going to be bases, and I'll talk about loot filters in a minute. But another really cool thing is that as you're mapping through the game, you're going to pick up items that are going to have affixes that you really want to, you really would like to have. So for example, on my sword, I really want to have flat melee physical damage. I really want to have melee critical strike chance, right? I really want to have some of those mods. So what I'll be able to do is, for example, this mace here has melee physical damage, which is exactly what I want. But it's tier 1. So I can actually fracture this, or sorry, not fracture this, shatter this, and it's going to give me these different affixes, the cold damage, the fizz, and the shock, as shards that I can use to further craft my own items with the mods that I want to have. So it's like, all the items that you're picking up in your mapping session, or your monoliths is what they're called, that feel like they should be useless, they all have a value just based on the affixes that they have, because they can be used to craft other items that you're going to want to craft deterministically, which is honestly a really, really cool system. And the way that it works is the higher the tier, the better the tier, the more shards you get. So in this case, I'm going to get like 1 of the melee fizz, 1 of the chance to shock, and probably 2 of the cold damage, as you can see. So if I would have picked up in a map, let's say a really bad base, because obviously bases are important, a really bad base of like an axe or something with T5 or even T6 or even T7 melee physical damage, and this is a mod that I really, really want, I'm able to shatter it, and it's going to be 7 attempts or 5 or 6 or whatever attempts of physical damage upgrades along the way. So that's why you can see that I have some of these runes or glyphs or whatever they're called. I have a ton of them. Some of them I don't have many, some of them I have an absolute ton of them. So it's really, really nice because you can deterministically get everything that you want to a level that is very, very comfortable to reach the end game. And then if you want to really min-max your character, then you just have to go on a grind, and you get these purple items, which are the ones that have mods that are like T6 or T7s. As you can see, this one has a T7 mod, T6 mod, T6 mod, or sorry, T6 mod, yeah. So T6 and T7s are dropped only, which is really cool because again, you're actually picking up items on the ground that feel like they have a value to your character, and that's pretty awesome. Now, there's also a lot more to the crafting system. There's basically annuls, there's divines, there's technically, I guess, something you could consider it like a scrambling of your mods and all that. So there's a lot more to it. And I really think that they are nailing the crafting system. I think that GGG could definitely take a book out of this game when it comes to crafting, because it's not too easy to the point where it's like too easy, I guess, but it's also easy enough to the point where it feels rewarding to do it, even like literally on the fly in any given map, which is again really, really cool. Now the thing is, I did mention that you have different affixes that you care about on different items. So another thing that is awesome about this game, and I think GGG should really take a note out of that, you also can edit your filters on the fly, and that is pretty damn cool. And it's also really, really easy to do. It's kind of like a filter blade for Path of Exile, except it's in the game, and it's also much easier to use. You get to choose what you want to see on the item. So for example, a certain affix, and then you get to basically choose what affix that is. And it does seem like there's a lot, but there's really not that much to go through. And then you can base, if you want to see them based on basically you know, their tier, or you know, for example, the level or the rarity. So let's say you want to hide all the white items, kind of like I have here. So for example, I have a rule that makes me show every single item with a T5 or above are all showing, every single one of them. Doesn't matter what the affix is, because obviously I want to shatter them, right? Like I explained, to get those mods that I care for. I'm showing all unique sets and exalted items, exalted being T6, T7s. I'm hiding all normal items, so I don't want to see any of those to prevent clutter. And I'm hiding all items basically with T4 stats and below, and that applies to magic items, rare items, and so on. So that I basically only see items that are actually worthwhile picking up. And again, that is really, really, really cool that we are able to basically do that. And not only that, you can literally like on the go change your filter and decide, okay, so I have enough of this material, or I have enough of this, or I don't need this anymore, so I'm just going to basically put this rule as a less important rule, because the top is always going to be the most important. So for example, right now, the most important thing is that I'm always showing uniques, set items, and exalted items. I'm always showing T5 and above. I'm hiding all the normals, and I'm also hiding anything with T4 and below. And if I ever want to test my filter, for example, I can literally just put this on there, and then I can look if it's showing or not, if I ever wanted to test the filter to see if there is a base missing or something like that. Because yes, you have different bases which are important, but not so important that are like game breaking if you don't know what you're doing. And realistically, the crafting is so well done that you're going to learn very, very quickly what is considered like good or bad. So overall, my take on the game is that it's pretty awesome. I think there's a lot of things, like I said, things like crafting, things like having the filter as part of the game, things like picking up items in stacks also. That's really important to mention, this game is awesome for your wrists. Unlike PoE, where you have like a million different items and every single item needs to be clicked individually. If there's like 20 items on the ground right in front of me and they're all stackables like shards, I can literally click once and it picks up the entirety of the pool. And that also is such a nice quality of life, because they do drop in massive packs at the end of the map whenever you kill the bosses. So again, just quality of life on top of quality of life on top of quality of life. You also have these idols, which are the equivalent of charms in Diablo 2, except they don't go in your inventory. One thing that I should mention is the game is absolutely not pay to win. It's pay to play. It's $35. I'll talk about that in a minute. But everything in the game is like, you can buy with gold. Stash tabs cost gold you can farm in the game. You know, everything is free, so it's really just you pay for the game and that's it. Now there are microtransactions for the people who like to look real swag, you know, look real cool. I don't have any of them and my character doesn't look all that bad. I haven't even looked at them yet, to be honest, because I just wanted to enjoy the actual game itself. But I will say there's even like a game guide as well, which explains everything you need to know for the if you're ever wondering about anything like that. So yeah, the only thing that I have to say is that the game lacks super endgame content. I don't think I could play this game for 2, 3, 4, 5,000 hours like I would play Path of Exile. I just can't. I can't see it right now. But the game is still very young. If you were to compare it to Path of Exile within the same amount of development, I think that this game is actually a lot further in development than Path of Exile was in the same amount of time. Now, of course, you know, technology, engines, all that stuff are much different, but I think this game has insane amounts of potential. And if they just basically make the end game feel like you can play it over and over and over again and not feel repetitive, the same way you can do Path of Exile, like how you can basically do thousands of maps and not like feel that it's that repetitive, then they're going to absolutely crush it with this game. And I think we might have something that can rival Path of Exile, even if it's not a free-to-play game, because technically, how free-to-play is it really to play PoE? It's pretty much unplayable without at least some amount of premium tabs. So that's pretty much my first impression. Now, I know that this video is a little bit all over the place, but I do have a really cool announcement to make, as I mentioned at the start of the video. Before that, though, I want to give a shout out to a few different content creators. Last Epoch Builds. Now, all these links are going to be in the description of the video as always. But Last Epoch Builds, huge shout out. He also added 2 copies of the game that are going to be raffled on my birthday stream, as I already mentioned at the start of the video. So 2 copies are going to be from him. So huge thank you to him. You should check out his content. He's been making builds for this game for a long time now, and he knows he's one of the best build makers in the game, really. Lizard IRL, he's actually the rank 1 arena guy, so technically that means the best player in the game. So you could definitely check him out as well. His content, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to this game. Everybody in the scene knows who he is, because he's just like, he's the best. So that's that. And then also huge shout out to Boardman21, because it's actually one of his builds that I'm currently following. I did not come up with it myself, so huge shout out to him as well. He's got a ton of builds. He's pretty much one of the best build makers as well. So I wanted to shout out to those people, and huge thank you to Last Epoch Builds for adding 2 additional copies of the game that we'll be giving away. Now, I do want to talk exactly about that, the giveaway. So how does it work? Well, I made this, I talked about it on Twitter, and yesterday I made a post, but I figured I'd talk about it in the video. So there's a Nexus GG page that will be available in the description of the video as well. It's essentially the same price that you would be able to get the game from either Steam or from them themselves, from the developers themselves. And what happens is I receive a cut of your investment when you buy the game. Now, I could decide to take that money and run away with it, but what I decided to do is that I'll be using 100% of the money that we've made from this affiliate link, if you want to call it that, and using it to buy copies, which will also be given away in my birthday stream on the 1st of April. You don't have to be a subscriber. You don't have to, you know, follow me on Twitter and YouTube and all that. All you have to do is follow me on Twitch, because obviously it's a raffle. You need to be able to participate, and my chat is, I think, in follower modes only, to prevent spamming and all that. So yeah, so far we have in the last like 24 hours, pretty much in the last day, we've made $120, which is about 3 copies of the game, plus the 2 from Last Epoch Builds. We're up to 5. And I will be adding the Last Epoch devs on Twitter. Hopefully they can add another few copies to the party. And not only that, for my birthday stream, which is on the 1st of April, again, so in a week from now, I will also be buying 10 copies from my own money and giving them to you guys. So at the very least, we've already got 15 copies of the game that we're giving away, and hopefully a lot more if people use the link to buy the game. I'm hoping to be able to give away around 30. That would be absolutely nuts. We could raffle one like every 20 minutes for the entirety of my birthday stream, which I will also add is going to be a very interesting stream because, one, it's going to be a drunk stream. I've never done that ever before. Obviously, we're going to have to be careful with TOS. It's going to be a hardcore stream, so I'm going to be playing hardcore Last Epoch, which, I mean, if you know me, I'm a softcore gamer. And also, we're going to be giving away some stuff, which is I've also never done. So I'm hopefully it's a very successful stream, and hopefully you guys all show up. But that's pretty much it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Before I go, I want to say a huge thank you to my supporters. So Jordan, Lost with the Map, Cremis, So Nice, Flame Scorpion, Nathaniel, Richard, JW Players, Scott, Young B, Tuck Tuck, Michael, Ashley, Pabloms, Cool, Keebs, Marcus, Justin, Matt, Kevin, Powell, Mercury, Ethan, Stitchery, Jared, Axel, and Acid, as well as a huge thank you to Phenom and Trevor. Hopefully you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you guys then. Peace.